how much topspin does Novak generate on his forehand side on average? Obviously in RPM or revs per minute, if you want to be technical. Your options are 1,200, 2,000, 2,400, or 2,800.
I'm going to say 2,800. At the risk of getting it wrong because it's out of that middle boundary, I'm going to say that.
Well, you need to get a grip. That's making me question this now. My answer that I have down here is 2,000, which seems kind of like really low now.
Really?
But
yeah, that's not as high as I thought.
Helps make the point even more. So yeah, generally Novak is hitting the ball pretty flat compared to even the average on the Pro Tour, which is around 2,700 to 3,000. Yeah. So yeah, most people hitting between 2,700 and 3,000 RPM, maybe even kind of pushing that a little bit higher these days with, some people using that extreme Western grip that we've talked about before and the low elbow, all that stuff. But yeah, the kind of point they're trying to make here is I would advise you to try and hit with more topspin as you develop your game. But I think as a starting point, it's not something to focus on quite so much. I think just focusing on a consistent swing path and where you're hitting, like your contact point, where you're hitting the ball is the most important thing. And then I think as you develop your game, if you're using, say, like the semi-Western grip, where you've got, up here, like someone like Alcaraz or something, then you can start to develop that kind of racket drop and driving up the back of the ball, that kind of thing. But even someone, as good as Novak, he's hitting flatter than most people. So maybe that's something to not take from his game as you develop, but maybe as a starting point, hitting the ball flatter is okay. You can still be consistent when you're hitting the ball flatter. I don't know. What would you?
And you can still be one of the best in the world. Well, you make a very good point. I was a little flinchy as you were saying. Don't worry about the topspin, because for me the dogma is learn to hit topspin, and to be quite honest, that's one of the best ways to generate something on the ball. But again, it depends how you want to play tennis. So how you want to play tennis is how it's fun to you. Maybe it's about how you can win, but most of the time I'd say it's about how it's fun. And to be honest, if hitting topspin isn't something that you think is going to make it more fun, then don't worry about it. Hitting depth, that's important. All I will say is in the ability of hitting depth, if you want to do that consistently, a bit of topspin is necessary, because otherwise things start to sail out of the back of the court quite a lot.
Yeah. So if I am then trying to develop a bit of topspin in my game, what are a couple of key things that I should work on that are going to help me?
First of all, you want to think about what topspin is. So first of all, you want to imagine, okay, what's the ball doing? Well, you're making it spin faster forwards. It's not like you're making the ball spin in a weird direction. In order to do that, you have to hit up the back of the ball. So you have to imagine every time you're about to hit that ball, your racket needs to start lower than the ball as to where you're going to strike it and finish higher. If you can manage that, then the chances are you're going to hit some nice topspin. As you progress, you can do that with wrist, that sort of wrist action that you can time. But if you're not so confident, just focus on that upward stroke from low to high, and then that will get you a little bit of topspin. Yeah,
I also think trying to get your body more side on is also quite a key point.
That does help.
Because that is, it's all about transferring that rotation from your body into your racket and then into the ball. And I think I find that a little quite underrated with my game, in that when I do tend to really get around and like coil up, that really helps me to generate more spin. So yeah, I think those are a couple of key points to remember on that. Interestingly, we did mention Nadal. His average, at least from the data that I had, was around 3,200, 3,300. Obviously, that's an average. So, he is hitting, probably when he's moving on to clay, he's hitting with even more topspin because he has more time, all that sort of thing. But yeah, generally,
I actually remember that statistic. On clay, it's about 3,700, which is a nuts amount of topspin.
Extreme.
Think about because we measure it in RPM, the same thing that makes car tires turn. So you look at your little dial, straight up, you've got the 3, and you're thinking to yourself, Christ, the speed my tires are turning to make me go 80 mile an hour, 70 mile an hour. Speed limit in the UK is 70 mile an hour.
Nice.
Sorry, everyone. The speed of the tires moving for me to go 70 miles an hour, that's how fast Nadal is hitting his forehand. And you're thinking, woof.
Hey there, tennis friends. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that episode, then you might want to click here for this one. See you there.